So for a startup, it's very difficult to work towards a future market that doesn't exist
Yeah.
yet. Because if nobody is ready to eat insect-based foods, for example, you are a startup that is forecasting its future revenue based on pure assumptions, based on a change of culture, which might happen in 5 years' time, but it might also happen in 20 years' time. And the question is, will you have enough money as a company to survive 20 years towards actually large-scale adoption of insects or not? And this is why we're seeing many insect companies being in trouble right now in Europe.
Hello, Alessandro. Thanks for joining in Scouted by Gravy. I'm very excited to have you here. How are you doing today?
Hello, hi Shabazz. Thank you for having me. Doing very good. We're in the warm summer
Okay.
of Rome in Italy.
It's very so. Before I dive in with my questions, Alessandro, is there anything like that going on that you'd like to start off with?
You want the hot news straight away.
Yes, yes.
So recently, the summer slows down operations a little bit, so we don't have any extra fresh announcements, but we are more and more progressing in our latest partnership with the ENI, which is the Italian energy company, with whom we are in a joint development agreement to extract proteins for animal feed, starting from agricultural side streams, which derive from the biofuel production that they have especially in Africa.
That's great. And it's you might not consider it exciting, but it is exciting for me that because when I was reading about Ocean Twist, my perception was I think your website shares that you are very active in fish feeds and aquaculture feed. But now hearing this that you're also working towards animal feed. So am I getting it right? You're talking about livestock feed and that market.
So animal feed in general includes also fish feed. So we are particularly specialized on fish feed, although we are also exploring the market of pork feed, so swine feed, poultry feed, and we're also looking into pet food.
But for our audience, who might not know about Ocean Twist or maybe just know a little bit about them, so can you tell them in a simple manner what is it that Ocean Twist doing and what kind of impact you are planning to make?
Yes, at Ocean Twist Biotech, we have the mission of reducing the reliance on marine resources for the food chain. For the food chain. So what happens is that 25 million tons of fish are caught every year from the ocean to become directly animal feed and aquaculture feed. And so basically, we're putting a huge pressure on the ocean for catching some fish that we're not directly eating as human. So at Ocean Twist, we develop biotech processes to improve existing protein sources coming from agricultural side streams and insects to be able to make protein meals which are used in the feed industry. We
That
apply
is, I think, the number you shared. Yes, yes, please continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, so to give you an example, we apply enzymatic processes and green chemistry processes onto, for example, side streams from the production of vegetable oils, of usually, let's say, not mainstream commodities. We're working on pumpkin seed press cakes, on hemp seed press cakes. So really byproducts from the oil industry, from the vegetable oil industry. And from this we obtain really high value proteins and fibers, and we can put them through to the right industry that pays the right price for it, and also make sure that we put these side streams back into the food chain, and this supports also food cycle.
I think what you're doing is very novel in its own, because there are some startups which are working on leveraging agricultural waste, and then there are some other startups which are using insect based proteins to finally make these feeds. But if I'm getting it right, you are able to do both, and you are able to do it in a way that it ends up making a product which is useful on a wider scale and not just in a specific niche market. Have I got it right?
That's right. The idea is to add value to the environment. So being able to reduce impact on the environment means that we're doing something for the environment that's valuable for the ecosystem, and to do something valuable for people. And we identified the human food chain as the way in which we can be most valuable to people.
So, Alessandro, can you also share like what is there any technical challenge or any innovation challenge you faced to make this a reality? Because what I understand is managing insect based protein, and then of course managing this all of these side streams coming from agricultural waste, and then forming something out of it. It's not an easy task, and it requires like multi-step process. It requires a longer value chain, so it must have not been easy. But like apart from the market challenges that you must have faced or partnership challenges, is there any technical challenge that you faced to make turn these waste products into usable protein for aquaculture market?
Yes, we face every kind of technical challenge. It goes from sourcing, so finding the right partner that can actually provide enough volume, a product that is consistent enough in quality, so we can process it correctly. Finding the right clients who embrace our project of giving novel proteins to the industry. There are challenges of certification, of the kind of certifications. So are we going to be certifying something for food or for feed or for pet food? These are different kinds of certifications. Every time we produce something, we need to prove that it works on different kind of consumers, different kind of animals, different kind of potentially humans. For example, if we give ingredients, protein ingredients to fish, how will a human that will eat that fish react? And we need to give proof of all of this. And that's a big challenge because it takes a long time, because it might take months or years to validate uh, the functional aspect of a new product that goes into the food chain. Yes, of course, it's a challenge making higher digestibility and making higher also palatability, and also making and all this. The challenge is not so much doing it, but doing it in a cost-effective way. So we have some patents that describe how we can extract proteins, for example, from insects without spending too much. Because if you take an insect and you extract the protein, you can extract the purest protein. But if it costs €100 per kilo, nobody will buy it anyway. So what we really work on is to be able to design biotech processes that are not too expensive, but they yield highly valuable products.
Makes sense. I understand. I think then the core USP of your innovation is in the bio processes that you have formed or formulation processes that you must have worked on. I guess that is what sets you apart. Have I got it right?
Absolutely. Our USP is within our biotech process on the technical standpoint, but also our USP is the fact that within our company we have really strong expertise both in biotech and in fish nutrition. So we managed to design biotech processes as a function of what our fish nutrition team needs. So we always make something that the market is interested in and needs according to today's.
Okay, I think it's always a best practice to be aligned with the market. I guess that makes me curious about so far, like in my experience of researching in aquaculture market, and even like the general animal feed market. Usually, these industries, they are very conservative about adopting new feeds, and they usually don't want to change their existing processes or their existing maybe feeding systems or their existing relationships. So I am sure you must have faced those challenges as well, the adoption challenge of your feed in the aquaculture market. So how can you like share your experience, and like how are you overcoming this? How are you convincing people to shift to this basically your created nutrition or higher protein meals compared to what they are already using?
Yes, it's aquaculture is a market that is quite traditional, but that's basically like most activities, most agricultural activities. They're quite traditional, and they innovate usually only in certain aspects. But innovation in feed comes usually in much smaller steps than just replacing one main ingredient that they've been used to throughout the whole career of the managers of these companies and the farmers and the owners. So it's important to be partnering with industrial partners from very early on. This is something that we did with a large feed company in Europe that is that's started by producing feeds under our own brand, and we did some sensibilization of our local customers here in Italy, and that helped us to gather data. Once you have a good partner that basically guarantees that your product is fit for purpose and is okay to be used within a large factory, and then you have downstream of that, you have data that are taken by real customers on the field, then this package put together is a really good package to show to new clients, to investors, and etc. So the main points that I recommend is really speaking to who is already doing this job, to who is already in the industry, and try to partner up very early without taking too much of their time, of course, but showing that you have some skills and something unique that they would want to integrate in their processes.
In Italy itself, what kind of market or like products you see your product being integrated into? So basically, my exposure to Italian fish market is just that there's a very famous for their canned fishes as well. So just wanted to get your views from local standpoint, like what kind of markets are you targeting there?
What fish so what do you say that the Italian
The
market?
fish, sardines, and the sardines in olive oil, the can fish that comes in the can.
Yes, yes.
So that is like that's my entire exposure to Italian fish market. But I'm sure since you are there, you're serving those customers, and you're. Would you like to share like what kind of markets are you targeting currently?
Yes, the markets that we target are mainly fish feed manufacturers.
Okay.
We have four main fish feed manufacturers here in Italy, and usually there is a few multinationals, and then each country in Europe pretty much has its own reference local feed manufacturer. I'd say that these are usually medium size companies. They usually do have some innovation desk, but it's definitely not as big as it should be. Their R&D and their product improvement, uh, its products are less are less innovative, or there's less volume of research than what they should be doing to actually keep improving this industry. And this is normal because when you're working on very low margins, it's really quite hard to put money on innovation. You just have to focus on surviving. His main product is trout in terms of fish, followed by sea bream and sea bass, and we have also we also have some good production of caviar. Italy is among the, I would say, top three caviar exporters in the world. So we tend to work with all these fish categories that are close to us.
It sounds very exciting, and yes, you are. I totally forgot about caviar. Okay, I think then the nature of the product, which is designed in a way, do you see? And I think I might be repeating my first question, but I just wanted to get your like specific views about it. I understand that there are some regulations in place which allows you to, which needs to be addressed before you expand into other markets. But maybe this might be already on your plan. Do you see a similar high protein rich feed being introduced into, let's say, livestock, or eventually into human food as well? Because in the past I've talked to a few startups in Europe itself which are using insect based protein, but are trying to make protein powders that are suitable for human consumption, or that maybe not now but eventually like 1 or 2 year down the line. So is that something also that you're considering, or do you see that, okay, do you want to stay focused on a specific market only?
So for a startup, it's very difficult to work towards a future market that doesn't exist
Yeah.
yet. Because if nobody is ready to eat insect-based foods, for example, you are a startup that is forecasting its future revenue based on pure assumptions, based on a change of culture, which might happen in 5 years' time, but it might also happen in 20 years' time. And the question is, would you have enough money as a company to survive 20 years towards actually large scale adoption of insects or not? And this is why we're seeing many insect companies being in trouble right now in Europe. Our approach is mostly to serve the industries that are growing and that have a demand for what we do. And eventually, if there's a new demand that starts raising, we make sure that we access that market. Everything we do in terms of technology is be able to be certified one day for human consumption if the conditions allow us to. So we would be ready if a new market for human food opens and starts to generate some good traction.
That makes perfect sense. I think what you said is right. Very less people are ready to eat insect based proteins. There's just, I think, we could say that this is like at the very early stages of technology level, but I understand your viewpoint, and I really like how you're very clear about your market positioning. So, Alessandro, I think you also touched upon this. Maybe I'd like to just go a little bit deeper into it. What kind of regulations exist in this market that you are trying to address to, or that you have already maybe gotten approval of, or maybe some are in the line of getting approval of? Are there any specific regulations that you are addressing?
Yes, this is my last answer because I have to run at 15, unfortunately.
No problem. Yes.
And in terms of regulations and certifications, this is something that takes very long. For a company, it's usually very expensive. So the kind of approach we're having is working with production partners at an early stage. While we're at an early stage, to work with production partners who are already certified, and this helps us only focus on product and not on everything that goes around product, like certifications and like production processes. This is something that at the moment we're not not doing internally. And then as we grow, we will do everything that needs to be done. As we grow, we will do everything that needs to be done in terms of certifications.
Makes sense. I see, Alessandro, that you have to go away. So what I'll do is basically other questions. I will send you over the emails. I just have like 2 questions left. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
fine. Thank you very much, Abbas.
Okay. Again, so far, amazing conversation. Bye bye. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.